In Western aestheticism, there is a right-hand path and a left-hand path, so two different ways to rise Kundalini. And in Hinduism, through the Vedas, the same terminology is used. The right-hand path focuses on our willpower and discipline with acts like Kundalini yoga, rightful living, and meditation. And the left-hand path is achieved more through surrender. Surrender to another human being by receiving the transmission of Kundalini through what is called Shaktipat. And this is of the left-hand path. Tantra is traditionally of the left-hand path, but in its modern day application in the West, it is more eclectic and mixed. It's not that the right-hand path is good and the left-hand path is bad. Applying too much willpower in life and never surrendering can be very negative for us. But the left-hand path and Shaktipat is definitely more dangerous. It's good to say here that in Kundalini bodywork, we integrate both paths, and how much you use your left hand and how much you use your right hand is totally up to you and will change through time. In Shaktipat, what I observe and understand is that we each have a stream of consciousness coming into us, but consciousness has many levels. And at one level, there is a stream of energy that is pure divinity. It is still connected to your higher self and oversoul, but the energy coming through is universal and pure. It's not the same as channeling Reiki and other healing energies, which are great. This is more a stream of consciousness, of divinity. It's not light as we traditionally think of light, more what makes up light, but still exists when it's dark. It's the essence of non-dual healing. So in Kundalini bodywork, this is the energy that we are learning to work with. Just imagine that everything we see in our reality is made of light matter, even when it's dark. So dark things are made of light, whereas dark matter is the energy that we cannot see. It is space, the void, the other 94%-ish of the universe. Looking at the polarity of dark and light this way, with science, gives our mind a higher level of abstraction to look at polarity and duality through, which can be very helpful when understanding the dark and light nature of humanity. During Shaktipat, and I think many modern practitioners are unaware of what they are doing, this stream of consciousness, of divinity, is infected with energy that stimulates an awakening. You can think of it like homeopathy, adding a small amount of poison so that the body cures and heals itself, and in this case, awakens itself. But instead of poison, it is spiritual knowledge and truth being added. It's just not necessarily the right spiritual knowledge and the right truth for the person receiving it, but it's truth all the same. I relate it to poison as it's simply not God, truth at its highest abstraction. Taking the imprint of someone else's energy to wake up is not necessarily a bad thing, as long as you continue to work on yourself and develop your own energy and imprint of Kundalini, expression of awakened consciousness. But if a person is simply not ready and cannot integrate the experiences, they will go back to how they were before, sometimes sacrificing a part of themselves and their energy for a wasted experience. This is why in Kundalini bodywork, we support people to clear the pathway of Kundalini and to holistically prepare for this experience, opposed to giving it to them, but working in a way that when truth is there, it is seen, realized, and integrated, not forced. In some Shaktipat practitioners, you can see the entities that they are working with, many of them unknowingly. Entities are not necessarily good or bad. Some can be angelic and some can be demonic. But when they live on a higher plane of existence than we do, good and bad does not exist in the same way. So it's not like an all-powerful evil demonic force is taking possession of a person and doing bad things, but we need to be very careful not to surrender our will to entities, as their agenda is not our own. Likewise, being totally guided by angelic forces, but then not holding our own boundaries, can also be bad for us, because we fail to use our own willpower and stop trusting ourselves to decide what is right and what is wrong. Only giving love, light and positivity to a very traumatized person will often prevent them from healing, as balance is needed in order to include more parts of ourselves, the parts that need to heal. The rejection of and bastardization of someone's shadow will really help them. Being human, or at least being a good human, one worth having around, is to balance positive, negative, neutral, and other forces to bring about evolution and transcendence. On a lower fourth dimensional and astral level, as discussed in the video Black Magic, there are negative energies and entities that can attach to us and feed from our emotions, most often negative and lustful emotions. They create depression, addictions, desires, to isolate, eat too much, watch pornography and violent movies, over-exercise, and other acts that simply lower our vibration, thus allowing them to feed from us. These entities feed from us as they need our light and chi to survive, with negative emotions also having chi. When in a low vibrational state, we are literally their food. Ultimately, they are reflections of us, of humanity, so we need to choose when to feed and maintain them, to maintain the illusion, our illusion built from polarity that allows us to experience separation. Separation being the purpose of the shared illusion that we are all living in, as our experience of separation expands consciousness, the consciousness that we can experience. Some people are addicted to the power and protection that these darker entities give us when deeply in our sense of separation, and others realize the power we feel when we do not have shame, because shame allows the negative entities to feed from us, while the shame is also blocking us from our power, so is a double negative in the game of polarity and separation, with negative entities obviously loving our shame. One aspect of shadow work is transcending the energies and entities that we create, moving them into the higher astral, into their positive expressions. But in relation to Shaktipat, if a practitioner is working with an energy or entity, angelic, demonic or otherwise, then we need to be careful. I don't want to limit your belief about what is and what is not possible here on Earth. We can all pull large amounts of natural and pure energy into our bodies, and we can all channel enough chi and prana to wake up our own Kundalini and experience life as divine. But when we experience these high voltages of energy, they must be coming from somewhere. And when they are not coming from our own past trauma, our willpower, love or desire, with a clear connection to Gaia, Mother Earth, that charges us with life force, or our own orgasmic potential, which relates back to fifth dimensional energy, more on a soul level. Think where souls come from, or think of another reality vibrating at a different frequency, feeding this reality, the one we live in. Then we have to ask, where is this energy coming from? Especially when it is continually channeled for us through another. Unfortunately, when we allow it, energy can be pulled from us, but our bodies are designed to balance energy. So as long as we stay aware and monitor our health and mental state, then we should always be able to bring ourselves back into balance if we have unfortunately allowed ourselves to be depleted in this way, or through sex and sexual energy exchanges. Although if you pick up a particular nasty entity, then it is possible to become blinded to the damage being done, simply forgetting many of the things that you know. If someone continually goes into Shaktipat circles and goes into blissful and orgasmic states of being, then it is unlikely that the bodily movements they experience are from the clearing of their own trauma and blocks and the excess energy stored in their body, or that they are constantly being fed by fifth dimensional energy from their soul. Our souls do this, but we have to have a purpose and something to create in this world. They feed us prana, but it's impossible, so it's not so likely. Sadly, in these circles where spiritual growth is not apparent nor accompanied by spiritual commitment, discipline or practice, then it is much more likely that there is either a victim somewhere who is being drained and having negative experiences to fuel those of others, or on one level you are being energetically raped, not just of your trauma so you can no longer transform it, but of your potential in the past or in the future. It's unfortunate that energy can be pulled from us in this way, and sometimes people go into spiritual circles, plant ceremonies with shamans or Shaktipat circles, and leave with energy pulled from them. Their sacral, their solar plexus chakras are drained, negative cords are attached to them, with the exact same thing happening within internet pornography sites, which can lead to illness manifesting such as chronic fatigue or mental health issues. But as this is all healable and for the most part avoidable, I don't want to put you off this work, as clearly the work I do and what I'm teaching you is very similar, but I want you to be aware of what is possible and where you can go wrong, as unconsciously and unknowingly working with darker entities can bring you negative karma. The tools in Kundalini bodywork are teaching you to remain safe in such spaces and circles, although occasionally being dangerous. They are, for the most part, beautiful and sacred spaces that are really needed to build community and help us evolve and learn more about ourselves and our spirituality with each other. What is also sad is when people have experiences similar to a full-blown Kundalini awakening through Shaktipat, but feel powerless to do anything afterwards and simply go back to how they were living before, in a 9-to-5 soul-destroying job with a community that does not support their growth or development. It's a kind of, yes, I'm a spiritual being now, but I continue to participate in and support corrupt politics, big pharma, a toxic manifestation of capitalism and mainstream media. It's not the material world is inherently wrong and that we should reject it, but we should be transforming it to be a reflection of the spiritual insights that we receive. So having a Kundalini awakening experience and then not changing your life and the environment around you to match it is in my mind a selfish act, one that is more likely to reduce your potential than increase it. It makes you less worthy of the gifts of the material world or worlds that we live in. I know I can do better here and often need to review my life to see where my money and energy is going. So it's not an invitation to beat ourselves up, but to simply ask, where can I do better and how can I spend and receive energy more wisely?